So, we are in the penultimate episode of the show. And I've gotten parts of this episode spoiled, obviously, because, the internet exists.
Of course.
Um, so we found out that Vanessa purposely got Luca killed, so she sent him in there to die.
Like a
So,
boss.
like a boss. So they were working together on that. Um, so I believe it was during one of these recordings that I made this comment to you. I said that. Oh, now I'm blanking on her name. Heather. I said that I liked Heather because she reminded me of Patty from
Season 2 of The Flash.
season 2 of The Flash. And in this episode, she turned into season 4 Iris West for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
I saved me. Ma'am, what was going to happen if Daredevil didn't go through that window?
Yeah. That's a big old plate of denial.
That had a "We Are the Flash" level of. Don't do that. That's like the one glaring. Wow, that was a bad line. Like, I get this character doesn't like vigilantes. I get it. But to have that level of denial of where, no. If Daredevil wouldn't have came in the room, I would have figured it out. What were you gonna do?
Seriously.
What are you gonna do, Heather? You were going to be paint for Muse, is what you were going to be. You were going to be his next Banksy on the side of a New York skyscraper. You would have been no longer employed because you would have been an art installation. That is what would have happened.
At least Chief Gallo knows what's up. He knows what actually happened.
Yes. And thank God it took 2.5 seconds later on the episode for him to go, hey, maybe it wasn't a good idea for you guys to not have body cams because you're doing bad things. No shit! Good lord. But anyway, so most of Vanessa and Kingpin's issues got solved, at least early on in this episode, in a lot better fashion than I thought they were going to.
Did you think they were going to drag out their whatever their problems were?
I don't know if I necessarily mean drag out, but I did not have in my predictions Vanessa was going to be brought down to the basement, he was going to explain himself, and then Vanessa was going to shoot him. I didn't expect them to solve that problem in roughly 3 minutes.
And then immediately Vanessa's like, "Oh, therapy? Nah, we're good.
There, we're good. I just shot the guy I had the affair with. It's fine." Because, that solved the problem. Good lord. So, now I'm getting to the part where I had something spoiled, and I'm trying to figure out how we get to it, but I'm not going to mention that. So we get back to the bar, and the bartender's name, which
Josie.
Josie.
Josie's great.
Josie's great.
That might be one of my favorite scenes of the episode where he's just it's just him talking. Cherry comes in because he's like the overprotective dad.
Mm-hmm. So Cherry comes in and she brings out the alcohol and she goes, "This is Foggy's. He never got to have his last round." He's like, "That's not what he was drinking that night." And he goes, "No, it was. I've been bartending for long enough. I know what I'm doing." And then he somehow knew that he was celebrating for this case that he was going to win early and he was going to be silenced. So pieces start going together that Bullseye was going to kill him for a reason. Reason why he doesn't know. He goes in and to interview him, and to say it goes awry is one way of putting it. I just love how there's conveniently no cameras in that room whatsoever.
Right.
But he gets Fisk puts him in the Gen Pop thinking that they're just going to kill him because, he's not allowed to use his hands. So because if he had his hands, it would kill everyone in Gen Pop pretty much. So he's hoping that he gets killed. That sounds like a thing that a guy who is okay with the person murdering Daredevil's friend wouldn't do. So he obviously wants him silenced and out. And I was slightly confused at first as to why Matt bashed his head clean off of the desk. And then that obviously gets solved later on, but I just love how there's been no signs of Poindexter being like, obviously he's a murderer, so he's partially a psycho, but there's like no signs of him being like an uncontrollable psycho.
He's a Hollywood psycho.
Yeah, so like Matt lying and saying he just started bashing his own head off the desk when that's not a psychotic behavior that Poindexter has. And the top's just like, yeah, these killers, blah. But
it is kind of funny how people will just believe anything just because you tell them.
Because you tell them. I also like, again, on that same note, before I forget to mention it, that Matt walks out of the bar in the bartender's game again, who I'm blanking on. The bartender's
Josie.
Josie is like, he didn't use his cane. Cherry just goes, yeah, I didn't notice. You didn't notice either. But I love how they're starting to show moments where Matt is forgetting that he's supposed to be blind. Because, like, they get in, and he finally gets to the dance, and you're having all these great moments where, obviously, like, it's starting to slip that, like, he's going back into being, like, Daredevil hardcore again. And Fisk knows that who his swordsman is, trying to, like, extort him. And he's trying to get closer to Fisk, who is literally talking, knowing that Matt will be listening to him. And I love how he's like, all right, you're going to have to do something for me. He's like, what's that? You're going to have to lead. And him pops open his cane, no look, slams it on the waiter's tray. And then the waiter keeps walking. No one makes a comment that there's no fucking way knowing that waiter's tray would have been there.
I didn't notice that until the second time I watched the episode. And it's like, wow. He just doesn't care anymore.
Doesn't at all. Like, Matt! I know you're mad, but what are we doing here? No, I know no one's gonna outright accuse you of not being blind. But, my guy, come on now. So, yeah, then we get the, I guess, revelation that he believes it was Vanessa that called in Poindexter to deal with Foggy. Because while Fisk was away, that hit was made in. Because she has something to tell him, and Matt believes it's this. And she knows full well that he's Daredevil, a fact that, is important in that regard, that, like, they're just openly not trying to ruin his life, even though they know he's Daredevil.
Yeah, that's...
both of them?
Interesting.
It is interesting. But the most interesting part is at the end, which again, Matt is just forgetting wholesale that he's blind. How do you jump in front of a gunman when you can't see the gunman? Because in the report, or how they're going to write this down, and I know they're not going to do it because it's going to be a, wow, Fisk was shot at, Matt's in the hospital. They're going to be like, sir, How did you know he was going to get shot at? And you have to be like, I swear to God, in this really rambunctiously loud ballroom with music blaring, I swear to God, I heard a gun click. I don't know how.
They'll find a way to bullshit some explanation.
And I just knew this guy was firing at Fisk, and I knew where Fisk was in the room, and I knew where Fisk was in room in correlation with the shooter to know where to jump. When you add the steps together, it's like, man, how the fuck? Like, guy, there's 7 steps to how you made it there that no blind man could have done. That most people that can see could have done. I do like how in that situation, there's possibly 4 people, if you include Heather in that mix, who he could have shot. And for a second, you don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah, I was even wondering, like, who could he be pointing at? But then I remembered a line that Poindexter said earlier that, like, yeah, in another world you would like
defending me.
Yeah, you would be defending me because that's what good people do. They defend their worst enemy.
Yeah, but I do. Yeah, and then he saves Kingpin. But I do also like that. Like, why'd you bash his fucking head off the desk, Matt? Like, that was overdone. You could have punched him once, but then it was to knock his tooth loose and get him out. If he did that on purpose, which I'm going to assume he did, I don't know, cause he rocked his head off that table really hard.
Yeah.
Now, if he did do that on purpose to get him out to see what would happen, because if he's going to defend him, that means he's obviously not trying to kill Daredevil on purpose. He was hired by someone to get rid of Foggy and Daredevil, which he believes is Vanessa. Now, it very much could have been, I didn't mean to do that, you just got lucky with the fact that I knocked your tooth out. But, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Because 2 parts of this episode I got spoiled. The I saved myself line and the jumping in front of the bullet thing. There's a detail that supposedly happens in this episode today that I got spoiled for me that I don't know how the fuck they'd actually do. Because, it's not going to be a we're going to wave it away type of explanation. If the thing that someone I saw in a comment is true, I'm going to need scientific facts for how they did it. So...
Well, we'll find out shortly.
Yeah. So... Yeah, you got... And...
I think we kind of covered all of the basic stuff. What I'm really just excited for is how this season ends, because I know there are some things that are not exactly resolved and that they'll continue into season 2.
Have you seen the episode already?
I haven't.
Okay, alright. Okay, well, alright then. We'll be surprised. Where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us here on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You need to escape, so do we.
Absolutely. And you can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero, mainly on Twitch and YouTube. If you are into cosplays and such as conventions, you can look at my Instagram at Organoid Zero. I was just recently at Midwest Gaming Classic, and I got to meet most of the Devil May Cry crew over there. That was a just awesome experience. Could not have had better people. If you can meet anyone from any of the games, they're all just unbelievably great people that just give you the best experience you could possibly ask for. And also at Athletic Geek 89's channel, my buddy Eli, we have the Geeking Out podcast where every single week we take a subject and babble on about it for an hour. It's been kind of wishy-washy because I've been at a convention and plus out of town for a week, but we should have an episode up this week that has to deal with the predictions for WrestleMania. So yeah, go and watch that. Until next time, we'll see you all later. Bye.
Peace.